Long before the first European colonies ever claimed the eastern forests, this landscape hosted vast, highly organized political worlds. Looking at this map, you can see the territories of the 5 distinct, independent nations that shared this geography: the Mohawk, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, and the Seneca. Communities here were trapped in destructive cycles of violence. A single conflict would invite revenge, and revenge invited further retaliation, locking the nations in endless warfare. Ending a single battle was insufficient to break the cycle. To stabilize the region, they had to establish an entirely new category of political relationship that could outlast individual grievances. According to oral tradition, this solution arrived through a figure remembered as the Peacemaker, joined by his messenger, Hiawatha. They emerged with a radical vision for a shared government. To survive, these 5 nations had to navigate a core challenge of governance, building a unified alliance that would not erase their individual identities as sovereign peoples. That vision succeeded. The Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, later joined by the Tuscarora, united under a shared legal framework known as the Great Law of Peace. Think of this alliance as a massive shared home, modeled after their traditional bark-covered longhouse. Every nation lived under the same roof, but each kept its own distinct fire and space. When issues affected the entire Confederacy, designated representatives called sachems gathered in a grand council. Here, careful discussion and diplomacy replaced battlefield combat. Because of their central location, the Onondaga served as the geographic and diplomatic hub of these meetings. They were designated as the keepers of the central fire. All of this required a sophisticated legal code. And it was meticulously recorded without a single piece of European paper. This is a wampum belt. The Confederacy used these woven records as their official constitutional archive. The specific patterns in these beads acted as a physical record. The linked human figures here codified the complex laws and diplomatic agreements binding the nations together. This council system proved that a powerful union did not require absolute uniformity. It simply required a highly organized forum for diplomacy. But a council of representatives needs checks and balances to prevent corruption. For the Haudenosaunee, those checks relied on a strict matrilineal structure. This diagram shows how identity worked. Clan affiliation and loyalty bypassed fathers completely. It descended entirely and strictly through the mother's family line, creating kinship networks that crossed right over national borders. Because women held this foundational role in the family structure, clan mothers wielded immense political authority. They actively monitored the male sachems on the council. In fact, they held the ultimate constitutional veto. Clan mothers selected the male leaders, and if a chief failed in his responsibilities, the women possessed the power to remove him from office. While European monarchies were largely built on inherited personal dominance, Haudenosaunee leadership was a mandate of public service. A chief answered directly to the women who put him there. This setup guarded against tyranny. The power to dismantle corrupt leadership was built directly into the fabric of the family itself. The success of this government was symbolized by the Great Tree of Pace. Its imagery functioned as a physical political doctrine. Weapons were symbolically buried beneath its roots to end the cycle of revenge, while those massive roots spread outward, offering shelter and peaceful relations to former enemies. Centuries later, an active historical debate emerged over whether the Haudenosaunee directly inspired Benjamin Franklin and the design of the United States government. This is the preamble of the United States Constitution. While historians argue about the extent of indigenous influence on American founding documents, trying to validate Native history through this connection misses the point. The Haudenosaunee political system demands to be understood on its own terms. It is an enduring, sovereign alliance with an unbroken legacy of self-determination. The Haudenosaunee show that complex, representative government did not arrive in North America on a boat. It was forged in these forests by the people who lived in them generations before the first colonies took root.